Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you don't belong, not just in society, but in the world itself? Like there's something vast buried deep inside you. Something powerful, ancient, and misunderstood. Something that doesn't fit into the light-filled definitions of good or normal, but refuses to be ignored. If you've ever felt this, what the ancient mystics called the shadow calling, then maybe, just maybe, you weren't meant to fit in. Maybe you were chosen but not by the light. Maybe you are a dark chosen one. And before you click away or judge too quickly, understand this isn't about evil. This isn't about turning against the world. This is about awakening a sacred power that mainstream spirituality refuses to talk about. Because from the Vedas to the Taoist scrolls, from the Book of Enoch to the Gnostic Gospels, there are hidden teachings, suppressed for centuries, that speak of the dark chosen ones. Not evil beings, but guardians of the unknown, keepers of the forbidden flame, warriors of shadowed truth. And today, we're going to uncover 7 signs from ancient texts that you might be one of them. But be warned, this is not a comfortable journey. It's not about love and light, incense and mantras. It's about facing the parts of your soul that others run from. And if you make it to the end, you might never see yourself or this world the same way again. Sign 1. You were never afraid of the dark. You were drawn to it. Remember your childhood. Did you feel a strange pull toward the night? Toward silence? Toward the places others called haunted or cursed? In the ancient texts, there are beings described as nox lumines, the night lights. Souls destined not to shine in the sun, but to glow in the void. They were not evil. They were watchers, witnesses to cosmic truths too powerful for daylight. If you felt peace in the dark, it wasn't random. It was a signal. Sign 2. You've always felt like something inside you is asleep but ancient. Every tradition speaks of hidden power. In Hindu Tantra, it's Kundalini, the coiled serpent at the base of the spine. In the Kabbalah, it's called Shekinah in exile. In Hermeticism, it's the asleep God within. But for the dark chosen one, this power doesn't rise through bliss. It rises through pain, through shadow, through solitude.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Have you ever felt like your suffering was trying to wake something up inside you? That's not a breakdown. That's initiation. Sign 3. You're not afraid of destruction. You understand it. Most people fear endings. They cling to structure, identity, reputation. But you felt the sacred pull of collapse. You've watched your life fall apart, and somewhere deep inside, you knew it was right. That's because the path of the dark chosen one is the path of Kali, of Shiva, of the Black Madonna, the destroyer of illusions. You don't just witness transformation, you become it. And ancient texts say those who walk this path are not punished, they are purified. So I want to ask you, what have you lost in life that secretly set you free? Sign 4. You crave truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. There's something in you that rejects fake smiles, shallow words, and surface-level spirituality. You've looked into the void and said, "Show me what's real, even if it breaks me." That's not a flaw. That's the mark of a soul forged in shadow. because the ancient agnostics believed that divine truth was not found in temples but in wounds. The Gnostic Gospel of Thomas even says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not, it will destroy you." You're not here to play it safe. You're here to uncover the hidden. Sign 5. You've been feared or misunderstood most of your life. This might hurt to admit. But if you've always felt like people couldn't quite get you, if they projected things onto you, or sensed something they couldn't explain, that's a classic sign. The dark chosen ones in ancient stories were rarely accepted. They were often exiled, mocked, even hunted. But they weren't cursed. They were mirrors, walking reflections of everything others didn't want to face. You triggered discomfort not because you're wrong, but because you're real. And that's your power. Sign 6, you've had visions, dreams, or moments that felt like messages, but from the dark. Not evil dreams, not nightmares, but transmissions. A voice in the void, a figure in the shadows, a moment in meditation where you felt watched not by something bad, but by something ancient. Maybe it scared you, maybe it fascinated you. But ancient traditions say that the dark chosen ones are often visited by the hidden teachers, beings that don't appear in bright light, but in dreams, silence, and sacred dread. These are not hallucinations. They are activations. So here's another question. What have you seen in your dreams that no one else would believe? Sign 7. You carry a deep power you can't explain, but it's tied to your suffering. This is the hardest one to accept, because your power isn't built on joy. It's built on shadow work. You've suffered more than others. You felt pain deeper. You've walked through betrayals, chaos, and grief that should have broken you. But instead, it forged you. And now, when you look back, you realize your power didn't come despite the darkness. It came from it. This is the secret the ancient texts whisper in symbols and riddles, that the dark chosen ones are not broken souls. They are forged souls like a sword in fire. And every scar you carry, it's a rune of initiation. It's a mark of your path. So what does this all mean? It means that if these signs resonate with you, you're not cursed. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're awakening. You're remembering. You're part of a hidden lineage, one that doesn't show up in temples or churches, but in the silence between breaths. You were chosen not to spread fear or chaos, but to walk where others won't. To go into the depths of your own soul and return with truth. To hold both the light and the dark and become whole. This path isn't easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires solitude. It requires you to face parts of yourself that most people will never even acknowledge. But if you walk it, you don't just awaken yourself. You become a catalyst for others. You become the one who walks into the shadow so others can find the way out. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore the ancient spiritual origins of the dark chosen ones, where these archetypes truly come from, why they've been hidden, and how every major civilization had secret teachings around them. We'll go deeper into the mysticism, the sacred teachings, and the spiritual responsibilities of those who walk the dark path. You'll learn how to turn your inner chaos into clarity and how to wield your shadow as a force of transformation. Let's go deeper now, past the signs, past the surface, into the hidden foundations. Because if you truly are a dark chosen one, then you're not just experiencing random signs. You are part of something ancient. Something that was known, spoken of, and even feared by civilizations long gone. But why feared? Because every spiritual system that survived long enough to gain power eventually tried to bury the dark path, water it down, make it taboo. Not because it was evil, but because it was untamable. You see, the dark chosen ones don't follow rules. They don't bow to systems. They don't fit into the light-washed versions of spirituality that promise comfort without confrontation. They seek truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. And that kind of power, that kind of raw inner sovereignty, it terrifies institutions. So they buried the texts, burned the scrolls, outlawed the teachings, but they couldn't erase the memory of them. Because the archetype of the dark chosen one is everywhere. Let's begin with ancient Egypt. In the Egyptian mysteries, there is a god known as Set, the god of storms, chaos, deserts, and darkness. But Set wasn't simply a villain. He was the necessary force of disruption. The one who challenges stagnation. The one who forces transformation through destruction. In the secret teachings of the priests of Heliopolis, Set was not just an enemy of order, he was the guardian of the threshold. He was the one you had to face before entering enlightenment. Some initiates were even called children of Set not because they were evil, but because they were warriors of chaos-born truth. Does that sound familiar? Now let's travel to India. In the Vedic and Tantric traditions, there is Kali, the fierce, black-skinned goddess who dances on corpses and drinks the blood of ego. She is not a demon. She is liberation incarnate. She destroys not because she hates, but because she loves us too much to let us stay asleep. Tantric texts speak of initiates who walk the left-hand path of Vamachara. They meditate in cremation grounds, chant mantras to the deities of destruction, and face their own death while alive. Do you understand the gravity of that? They embodied spiritual rebellion not to defy truth, but to uncover a deeper one. And again, the theme appears. The dark chosen one is the one who dares to descend into the underworld of the soul and returns with sacred fire. Now let's move west to ancient Greece. In the Eleusinian mysteries, there was a secret ritual reenacting the descent of Persephone into the underworld. She was taken by Hades not as a victim, but as a symbol of descent into the unconscious. Initiates who completed this ritual were said to no longer fear death. Why? Because they had already died to who they were. And what about the Orphics? They believed the soul was trapped in the body like a prisoner, and only through suffering, silence, and solitude could it be awakened. Sound familiar? Now let's go further into the Middle East. Or in the Book of Enoch, which was removed from most Bibles, there is talk of the Watchers beings who descended from the heavens and taught humanity forbidden knowledge. They were labeled as fallen, but many mystics believe they were not evil, just misunderstood. Bearers of truth too powerful for ordinary consciousness. And Enoch himself, he walked with God and was taken body and soul into the higher realms, not through death, but through transformation. You see, every tradition that dares to look deeper has a version of the dark initiate. The one who doesn't just follow the rules but breaks through them. And in every case, the pattern is clear: descent, suffering, awakening, return. So if you've walked through hell and come back with wisdom, you're not broken, you're not cursed. You're fulfilling prophecy. But prophecy alone isn't enough. You must live it. So what does that mean for you right now, in this life? It means you have to stop trying to fit into spiritual systems that weren't designed for you. The dark chosen one doesn't find peace in shallow positivity or surface-level rituals. You crave depth. You crave silence that screams. You crave teachings that cut not to harm, but to free. So here's the truth. You must become your own initiator. The traditional temples won't hold you. The mainstream doctrines won't recognize you. The gatekeepers of acceptable spirituality will call you dangerous. And they're right. You are dangerous to illusion, to ignorance, to fear. But this danger is sacred. Let me ask you something. What if the part of you you've tried to hide is the exact part that was meant to awaken others? Because that's the paradox of the dark chosen one. You walk alone, not because you're disconnected, but because you're preparing. You are being tempered. Every pain, every shadow, every rejection, it's been shaping you into a vessel powerful enough to carry what others cannot. But eventually you must emerge, not as a savior, not as a preacher, but as a mirror. You won't lead people to comfort. You'll lead them to truth. You'll hold space for people to face what they've buried. You'll walk into brokenness and carry light not in your hands, but in your very presence. But first, you must finish your own descent. You must bless your shadow. You must stop trying to fix yourself and instead unleash yourself. Only then can your power be pure. Only then can you embody what the ancient texts whispered of, the one who walks through fire and teaches others that the fire was never the enemy. In the final part of this journey, we'll explore what it means to live as a dark chosen one in the modern world. You'll learn how to harness your unique energy, how to protect your spiritual path from dilution, and how to awaken others without losing yourself. We'll talk about relationships, creativity, leadership, and the silent responsibility of the awakened shadow walker. So now you know. The signs weren't a coincidence. The ancient prophecies weren't just myths. You weren't lost, you were hidden, even from yourself. But once the darkness inside you starts to stir, once the fire behind your eyes begins to speak, you can't go back. Because the path of the dark chosen one doesn't end with awakening. It begins there. You're not here to sit in silence forever. You're not meant to hide in the cave of solitude, avoiding the world. No, you're here to return to walk among the asleep while fully awake, to bring clarity to confusion, to provoke transformation in others, even when they fight it. But how do you live this way? How do you carry this sacred shadow in a world obsessed with light-washed illusions? First, you must understand something crucial. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be true. And truth is rarely popular, especially in a world that confuses comfort with enlightenment. People will misunderstand you. They'll project their fears onto you. They'll call you cold, intense, too deep, too much, too distant. They'll say you've changed, but you didn't change. You emerged. And your emergence is a threat to everything fake. So do not shrink. Do not explain. Do not apologize. Because here's the paradox. The more authentic you become, the more others will either awaken or run. And that's exactly how it's meant to be. Because the dark chosen ones are catalysts. We are not here to fix people. We are not here to save anyone. We are here to ignite something dormant in their souls, something they may not understand, something they may even hate you for. But once it's awakened, they'll never forget you. Your presence will echo in their mind like a bell they can't unring. That's the responsibility you carry. But how do you protect yourself in this role? How do you stay grounded while walking through shadows? You must build your inner sanctuary. Because the deeper your power, the deeper your need for solitude, ritual, and self-reconnection. Create sacred space in your day. Wake up before the world and sit in silence. Journal. Meditate. Speak to your ancestors. Read the texts that remind you who you are. Let your energy reset before you engage with the noise. And throughout your life, surround yourself not with many but with the few who see you. You don't need crowds. You need mirrors. People who speak your language without words. People who don't flinch at your intensity. People who recognize the storm within you not as a threat, but as a temple. Seek those people. And when you find them, protect them like sacred fire. But let's go deeper. Because the true test of the dark chosen one is not in moments of solitude or even moments of power. It's in the mundane. Can you hold your truth in a grocery store line? Can you embody presence in a meeting full of masks? Can you listen to someone's pain without trying to fix it, simply because you've already felt it at a level they can't imagine? That's the mastery. Not dramatic rituals, not mystical visions, but embodied depth in every moment. And that depth becomes your aura. People will feel it before you speak. They'll sense the gravity in your silence. They'll trust you without knowing why. And when they're ready, they'll find you. That's how you teach, not through sermons, but through frequency. You become a living transmission of everything you've survived. You become a walking initiation. But be warned, this power is subtle, and the world will try to steal it. It will tempt you to dilute yourself, to become more palatable, to soften your edge, and to smile when you want to scream, to agree when your soul says no. But every time you do that, a piece of your power leaks. So here's the practice. Stop leaking. Start holding. Hold your truth, even when it trembles. Hold your boundaries, even when they call you selfish. Hold your silence, even when they beg for performance. Because the world doesn't need more performance. The world needs presence, your presence. So let me ask you something soul deep. What would your life look like if you stopped hiding your power, not just from others, but from yourself? What would it feel like to be fully seen in your shadow and still stand tall? That's not a fantasy. That's your next evolution. But remember, this path is not about ego. It's not about being special. It's about being true. And truth is humble. Truth doesn't need a spotlight. Truth is the monk in the ruins, in the dancer in the dark, the poet who never publishes, but whose words rearrange galaxies. You are that truth. You are not here to be worshipped. You are here to remind others of what they've forgotten. You are the thunder before their awakening. And your life, your real life, begins the moment you stop fearing your own depth. So walk the edge. Speak the unspeakable. Bless the broken. Burn the illusions. and become unchangeable in a world addicted to masks. Because you're not here to fit in, you're here to fracture the illusion. And when the illusion breaks, that's when real healing begins. That's when souls remember. That's when you become what you've always been, a mirror, a catalyst, a sacred storm, a dark chosen one. And now that you know who you are, the question isn't whether you're ready. The question is, what are you going to do with the power you've been hiding all this time?